Good morning, good afternoon, good evening, whenever, wherever you are watching this. My name is Marcus Octavius, and you are in the Foxhole. So, here we are, pretty much smack dab in the middle of the summer, and there are people still marching. I've heard some very disturbing news about undercover policemen and enforcement type troopers, for lack of a better word. As always, please stay safe out there. Please maintain your distance. Masks, 6 feet. You get the idea. Let's try to live to fight another day, shall we? And have arguments of a more uh, less life-threatening nature. I think would be the call of the wild right now. Three things I want to get to because, of course, I always have some sort of business going on with the channel. Still planning to do that African versus Arabic drum class, and essentially that's just going to be, the different shapes, the different sizes, different tones, and even the different kind of materials that they're made out of. But that's still coming. I'm still working on a new intro. Actually, I have some good news. I spoke to a band, and they are local to me, Greenville, South Carolina, and they have given me their blessing to use one of their songs as intro music. So I'm going to be working on that in the next couple of weeks, and hopefully you'll have a brand new intro, maybe even a brand new outro. I haven't decided yet, but a brand new intro, something like this, but much better looking and much more fun. The live class is still coming. I promise, I promise, I promise. What essentially happened is I ran into a situation where I got an embarrassment of riches. There's a number of services out there similar to Skype that work pretty well, and I know a lot of you would like to take a class from me, but a lot of you are not tech savvy, so I'm trying to consider as many options as I can and really give you guys the most bang for your buck. Now, to, of course, the real reason you all watch, let's get into the list. Rob Zombie, Daft Punk, Ministry, Fields of the Nephilim, and Specimen all make their return to the Foxhole. Especially Rob Zombie, he's been very, very absent. A lot of his music is kind of hard to get a hold of, and like I said, I tried to gear it more towards alternate and unknown artists. Excuse me. And Rob Zombie is very well known, so you kind of have to take your shots where you can. As usual, I have a couple of shout-out bands that I'd like to recognize. The first one is Washington, D.C., and for those of you who are into punk music and definitely the underground sound, you'll know who these are. Washington, D.C.'s own Bad Brains. They do a sort of reggae punk style. They also do alternative for the most part. They've been coined as being one of the, and I'm not totally sure if this is true, but they are not, if not the first, one of the major hardcore bands that are out there. And the interesting thing about them is that the majority of the members are black, which is something I definitely look for. I try to look out for African American artists or artists of an African origin that are definitely trying to do something different and innovative, and these guys have been around for a while. 9 albums, 4 EPs, 4 live albums, and 2 compilations. They are very well known in the punk rock scene. They have a lot of respect. They get invited to all the festivals, and now they're in the Foxhole. A somewhat newer band, and they have a very interesting history, even though it's very, very short, and that's Jacksonville, Florida's own Black Kids. Yes, that's their name, Black Kids. A post-punk outfit. They released 2 albums. One was released in the previous decade. I believe it was 2007, 2008. And they built their reputation strictly on the internet. It was MySpace music, YouTube hits, things of that nature. And they were doing a lot of touring, and it happens with a lot of bands. It's just burnout. Some bands can handle it, some bands cannot. And they released their last album about, say, 3-4 years ago, 2017. And that's actually the biggest credits they have is 2 albums. They were risers, and then they kind of went poof. And that happens to a lot of bands. It just does. They also have 2 EPs and 3 singles to their credit. They are led by a brother-sister group, African Americans no less. A couple of black kids, Reggie and Allie Youngblood, among with another background singer, a young lady whose name I currently forget. drummer and bass player. They were a 5-piece. When they went back into the studio to record their second album, they went in as a 4-piece. The bass player basically said, "Nope, got another gig," and they're moving on. But the music kind of got me interested. They definitely do like a post-punk type style, definitely 80s inspired at the very least. If you know the band MGMT, think along those lines. The third band I wanted to cite is one that also was very interesting, and they are very much in the sort of 90s alternative vein, but a lot of people don't remember them, but they remember them because of the lead singer, and that's the Sugarcubes, based out of Reykjavik, Iceland, alternative band. And the reason a lot of people know them is because of the lead singer Björk, or as some people pronounce it, Björk. I swear, that's what I heard. They were together from 86 to 92, released 3 albums and 2 compilations. For a lot of people who are familiar with the old MTV show, Alternative Nation and 120 Minutes, a lot of their videos made the rounds on that, as well as Björk's solo work. But I decided to give the band a shout out. So, based out of Reykjavik, Iceland, the Sugarcubes. And our senior officer this week is a duo actually, who have been on the playlist before, but I never really thought about them in a very in-depth detail. And then when I decided to do some research into them, I found out that they contributed a lot more than what I was really prepared. And that's the duo out of New York City, Suicide, Ellen Vega and Martin Rev. They've been together since 1970 and released their last album in 2016. The thing about it is that it's treated more like a musical project for these guys. And they get together intermittently and released a number of albums. AllMusic has quoted them being provided the blueprint for post-punk, synth, and industrial. And they have very minimalist electronic sound. So think Gary Newman and his band, the Tubeway Army, and Kraftwerk, but a little bit more stripped down. They have 5 albums. They released 5 albums between 1977 and 2002. 6 live albums, 2 EPs, and 2 actual singles. So they've been around for a while, and they've influenced an entire gaggle of alternative and mainstream artists, actually. Bauhaus, Birthday Party, New Order, Ministry, Pet Shop Boys, more recently MGMT, Daft Punk, She Wants Revenge, Dead Kennedys, and like I said, they've also had their hands in mainstream music. Rick Ocasek of the Cars cited them as an early influence on him, and Bruce Springsteen, of all people, cited Suicide as an influence on him. Now, how that happens, I'm not sure, because how you get from one to the other is going to be a very interesting story, and I certainly hope in my research I find it out. So, your senior officer of the week, the duo out of New York City, Suicide, the minimalist electronic band. Please like, share, subscribe. All your links are down below. Facebook, Twitter, and your email. I'm Marcus Octavius, and enjoy the list.